situation and the current state of play of the unfolding political parties of fallout and, of course, the upcoming NDC. We are now joined by Senior Counsel, Senator Okongo Omogeni, who is a Senator of Nyamira. We have also with us British Elachi. She is a Member of Parliament at the Great North. And we're joined also by Senator Joe Nyutu, Senator Muranga. Thank you, gentlemen and lady. Good evening.
Good evening.
Why the fallen faces, crescent fallen faces? Good to see you. Or Barom de Patua Sapa so that I can organize that quickly. But good to see you.
We'll give you a menu. We pick
the menu. Yeah? I should be coming up yes with the menu all the time.
These hard economic times. We'll be glad to have dinner served.
Good to see you. Thank you for joining us, and my warmest regards to you, and hearty welcome to the Insert this night. I think this is the first time also we are hosting you, Senator Nyutu. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. Right, and I said you have a lovely top. Yeah?
Thank you.
You look good. Okay, let's just get to the matters right now, which is just fresh also from the news regarding the UDA and ODM upcoming, of course, PGA. And integral that will be part of that meeting is the NADCO report and its implementation. So just to see, so far, where have we made mileage, where are we still stalling? And Okongo Omogeni, you're part and parcel of the National Dialogue Committee of the NADCO report, which is under implementation right now. So the President was holding, of course, a meeting today with the NADCO Implementation Oversight Committee, and you will be part of this particular PGA as well. Good evening.
Evening, Debal. First, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm invited, I have not received the invitation. I think you have received it ahead of me. But certainly, if I'm invited to a parliamentary group meeting of my party ODM, I'll be in attendance. More so if the agenda will be to discuss the implementation of NADCO reports. I was privileged to have represented the minority side in the discussions.
Yes.
And some of the proposals were very, very progressive. You know, issues around electoral justice, auditing of the 2022 electoral process, and strengthening the election laws so that we can have a fair, credible election in 2027. Of course, there were a number of other proposals, including amending the Constitution to entrench the position of official leader of opposition, to create a position of Prime Minister, to amend Article 108 to bring discipline among political parties, you know, so that people who are expelled from political parties can lose their seats and provoke an election. There was also a proposal to address the issue of high cost of living among Kenyans, looking at the tax regime and make proposals on how we can reduce the burden on Kenyans. And of course, the ever emerging issue of justice to the young people who are murdered by our security forces, and how we can have a mechanism of compensating the youths who were killed by our security forces, and how we can put a stop to that. So I'll be happy really to see that we take stock of how far we are on implementing the proposals from NADCO, so that we can create an environment that entrenches our democracy and gives Kenyans hope that their vote in the ballot in 2027 will count. I heard that there was disquiet from, I think, some sections of our colleagues from ODA on the process that was meant to make declaration of presidential elections final at the constituency level. And you remember that when we were discussing this issue at NADCO, we wanted to borrow what happens in the United States of America. You know, if you follow the American presidential elections, in the 50 states, you can make track of the results from each state. They don't have what we have been having. And remember, there has been a lot of castigation on the tallying process that has been undertaken by our commissioners at Nairobi. So the proposal is to make the declaration of results at the constituency to be final. Like if we had a presidential election tonight, by midnight we should be rolling in results that are final from our 290 constituencies. We are able to say, for example, that Kibra has been called and it's gone to William Ruto, or it's gone to Gachagua, or it's gone to Matiang'i. You get another one from Vita telling, so that there is no time for people to manipulate. You know what happens in Nairobi is that you get the results and you try to manipulate it so that you hit the 50+1 mark. And remember, we got evidence that that has been happening in our elections. People get the results from constituencies, then the tallying, when it's taking place in Nairobi, there is some manipulation to ensure that people close the 50+1. And more importantly, Dibal, we also made a proposal that we criminalize electoral fraud by election officials, so that if a presiding officer makes an entry that is false on any form, that becomes a criminal offense. That officer is arrested. We don't need to look for the chairman of the Electoral Commission. We go after the person who committed the fraud. Or if a returning officer at constituency receives a form from a polling station, and then you alter the figures. You know what has been happening is that you receive results from a polling station. If a candidate received 450 votes, when you make the transposition, you alter that figure to be something else. So really, there was a lot of attention that was given to issues dealing with how to conduct a fair and credible election. And you know, make it punitive and introduce criminal liability to any electoral official who engages in malpractices.
Thank you.
So really, I hope that despite the broad-based government, we will not put a stop to those very, very progressive proposals that were contained in the NADCO report.
But the question is also, what metrics are they using to gauge the progress of the implementation of the report? And I want just to also raise you on this, Senator Nyutu, just to tell us, from your own assessment, estimation, and accurate appraisement, do you think this has made any mileage? We've seen just drips and drabs of it progressing since we had this committee, and it was brought also to the floor of the House. What's your take? UDA has been mentioned.
Thank you, Diwal, and allow me to say hi to viewers this evening. And you know, just before I get to your question, the question that lingered in my mind when I saw those members of UDA saying that they are ready to meet ODM to maybe have some pre-election coalition agreement or something like that. I was left wondering which ODM. And listening to Senator Morgan here, he said he was not invited. He's a member of ODM, elected on ODM. I'm a member of UDA, not invited. Well, I don't know whom they had invited, but the biggest question for me is which ODM is UDA talking about? Because as we all know, you cannot talk of the real ODM that BAMBA had. I mean, there are so many factions that you may not even be able to count how many they are. And again, we are left wondering, those who speak for parties, I mean, they speak after consulting who? Because Omogeni here says he was not aware about this particular meeting. I'm a member of UDA on paper, and I was not consulted on this. And again, before I get to your question,
it depends which part of the faction he's in, right? So,
yes.
Yes. So
there are factions
also. Is it the compliant faction?
Yes.
And you as well. Are you the compliant faction of UDA? And Beatrice should tell us as well which faction. Maybe Beatrice, she's been a bit silent. We'll come to her. So they can tell us.
So, and I also want to thank Senator Omogeni, because when he gave examples of how results can be announced, and in a particular constituency, then you say Ruto has this, Rigathi Gachagua has this. I want to thank him for mentioning my boss, Rigathi Gachagua. It means that Omogeni recognizes that Rigathi Gachagua is one of the horses in this race. But to answer your question, the product of NADCO was something very good, and I listened very carefully when Senior Counsel Omogeni was taking us through this. And what I liked in particular were the electoral reforms that were actually recommended by this particular report. And I don't want to go through what Senator Omogeni has taken us through, but then we must ask ourselves, do we have the goodwill? Because for me, I do not think that UDA, at least the faction that William Ruto leads, has the goodwill to have NADCO report as presented, implemented. Because of course, it is in his interest that we do not get a free and fair election, and I have reasons for saying that. So, well, we have not seen any of this implemented. I have not seen any effort to, of course, bring around the office of the official leader of opposition. I've not seen any effort towards, bringing, as recommended by the NADCO report, the office of the Prime Minister, and I think 2 deputy Prime Ministers. I've not seen any effort so far to implement the recommendations by this particular report. Mm-hmm. And so we will be watching. We do not want to condemn, something before we have seen mm-hmm. what it can do. So I think it's a good thing to have. It's a good thing that UDA says they want to meet ODM and, of course, look at the implementation of this particular report. Mm-hmm. But then Kenya is bigger than that faction of UDA led by William Ruto and that faction of mm-hmm. UDA led by Oburu Oginga. So it's something that for me, that should involve all Kenyans. It's something that we should, who sits on the table where implementation of the recommendations of this particular committee mm-hmm. Are debated, and a plan on how to implement them, laid on the table. Mm-hmm. So I think there should be inclusivity. It should not be just about UDA and ODM. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So they should broaden it.
They should broaden it.
I'm interested, you mentioned that it is not in the interest of the president to have a free and fair elections, and you have reasons. I would love to, maybe you to outline these reasons that you think is really against having a free and fair election.
Because of course, if we get a free and fair election, then he's going to lose. And of course, he doesn't want to.
What are the reasons?
No precedent. Yes, of course. You just need to say, Dibal, some of these things. We may debate, but you only need to do some simple arithmetic. Where did President Ruto draw his votes from? Nobody doesn't know the regions that voted for him. Does he still hold those regions? That is something that, you don't even have to be, even to understand politics. It's simple arithmetic, that he doesn't have the support of the people who supported him, who voted for him. Of course, because of his character and his many things, his hatred, his thinking that, once you cross the bridge, then you do not need it anymore. And so this is in a free and fair election. If where he drew his votes is where we know then he has no chance of winning. That's why I said it is in his interest.
But it's not really the collectively the whole entire Mount Kenya region.
I've not even mentioned.
There isn't, of course, inroads that we saw, and him going to Nyeri, paints a very different picture altogether.
Thank you very much, and I'm feeling a bit uncomfortable because I can say Mheshimiwa here has not contributed, but anyway, it's to manage.
No, I just wanted to think about it, then we come to her.
When you talk about his incursion of Mount Kenya, I mean, I wish you would just know what is happening on the ground, because anybody who in Mount Kenya, about 95% of ordinary wananchi who attend his rallies, his meetings, are paid. They are paid to attend.
You don't have any confirmable facts on that?
Of course, Dibal, you have been analyzing politics for a long time. I challenge William Ruto to hold an impromptu rally in any center in Mount Kenya and tell me how many people will turn up. Not organized rallies. For us, we hold impromptu rallies. If you want to know whether Mount Kenya has gone back to Ruto, just, tell Ruto, make an impromptu rally somewhere like a place like Keno, and see how many people will be there to attend his rallies.
Okay.
So I am confident when I say that all the numbers you see are normally paid to do that. And I mean, we even know how much is paid per attendee. So that is something that we can debate and debate and debate. But there is no incursion that he has made in Mount Kenya. That is just a matter of perception.
Let me come to Elachi on this as well, because there is no substantive day that has been set for this particular PGA meeting. So that's why maybe it could be the reason none of you have received this particular letter of invitation from your respective parties at the end of the day, isn't it? Unless you've gotten one, right? Elachi, good to see you.
Good to see you, Dibal, and good evening, our viewers. No, I haven't seen Dibal. And for me, I think it's just a plan that is in progress. So we will wait and see, and see when we'll be invited. I think one of the things as ODM is that we would want that NADCO report and the 10-point agenda implemented, just so that you keep the promises you gave your people for them to audit and see whether we've done the right thing. So it's important for us to have the meeting and to make sure we agree on a clear time frame. Based on, you can see we are now in 2026, and when you look at the timeframes of NADCO, they had some specific timeframes also on how we needed to have implemented each of those recommendations. So I can still see we even have not even finished the electoral justice reform system, because the issues of the Supreme Court are still there. Remember in the report, there was a proposal that we see whether we can prolong a bit the elections when you go for those petitions in court. So we haven't seen even one bill that now comes to specifically speak on that. I think we have more importantly done on IEBC when you look at the report. The cost of living, we need to ask ourselves where we are. It can be a 50-50, it can be, you can put it on into a question and ask Kenyans, because it was part of it. So you find that some of the recommendations in the NADCO are processes that move. I think they are processes of a referendum, so we can't even talk about it here. You have to take it to a referendum for you to change and get whether you wanted the Prime Minister's office or you wanted the opposition leader's office. Those are some of the questions, and I know Senior here can help us in terms of legal to tell us. But then in terms of devolution, you realize we went to 415, we are hoping we'll go to 450. That's the proposal Baba wanted. Yeah, so if you move it to there, then you'll take and
That is the division of revenue.
Yeah, the division of revenue in terms of revenue sharing. Then you'll tell yourself you're moving, you get. In terms of the compensation to those who went through extrajudicial killings and all that. It is for us. You see, that one, it's a very clear agenda where I think all members should ask themselves, do you know where one of those young people who went through this and their families, how do you pick those memorandums? And the court gave them another 180 days the other day. I saw it gazetted. So it's for us to take the memorandums to the team and then ask ourselves as Parliament, have we passed budgets for this compensation, and how much should we even pass? Because you have to get the names and get to know, are these the correct names? So I think I would say this, that we need to ask ourselves. You see, this NADCO report was a report that you would say in every election that we do, Dibal, you find ourselves always ending up with a document, always. In every of our, when you look at 2017, yes, you'll have a handshake, but we'll have some agreements. Those agreements must be embraced in inclusivity, and you push them. So I believe all of us would want to see the recommendations in NADCO being implemented.
Right.
Yeah.
The perception that is being conveyed here is this is a UDA-ODM affair. And yet you look at this memorandum of understanding, it encompasses, the affairs of all Kenyans at the end of the day. Do you hold with the view that this broad-based, arrangements between UDA and ODM and the interest of this particular NADCO report should be broadened to be all-inclusive?
But it was all,
yes.
I thought it was broadened. I thought it was, we had Wiper in it, we had everyone. So the same team must move.
But this is my sentiment is here. It is from Mr. Newton.
No, I believe it was an inclusive thing, and that's how it has to proceed.
He feels it's not inclusive. Is it inclusive from your own assessment?
No, what I've said, and I don't fault Honorable Elachi, it was inclusive, as at the time it was discussed and a report made.
Yeah.
But then, that the premise of that particular question was the meeting of UDA today, where they said they will be calling on ODM so that they can come together and implement it. So my concern was when it comes to implementation, depending on the report or on the presser that UDA gave, then they were talking like when it comes to implementation, it will be us and ODM. I think that was the genesis, that was the basis of my argument, that it is exclusive. It is not inclusive of everybody in terms of implementation, not in terms of coming up with the report. I agree with her totally that it was inclusive as at the time, because even people were actually allowed to take to present a memoranda. Yes, but implementation.
Which raises concern, indeed, that we had the germinal idea that is all inclusive. We have Wiper Party and other parties as well. But now when it comes to implementation, it's becoming you're excluding other parties affair. They're being excluded. Right?
I don't think anyone has been excluded.
But where is the Wiper Party? It was involved in this as well.
For me, in Parliament, you can't exclude anyone from a committee. This thing is in the Justice Committee. And they used to come in fact, they did it a joint with Senate. And I think it will proceed in the same manner. You can't come and now change it at this hour. No. I think that for this meeting, I don't want to speculate.
But
mine was just to think.
Yeah, you don't hold meetings or the PGAs in the committee or the Legislative Affairs Committee as well.
No,
right?
I was just coming to that. For me, Dibal, I don't want to speculate. I thought maybe the meeting was to first bring, and because there are some 10-point agendas you also put together, you first agree on what you think in the whole process, and it goes back the way it was. And they need to have a meeting, by the way, because they have the 10-point agenda that they signed now together. When you look at some of the issues there are some of the issues that are part of also that NADCO. So just have a clean slate so that when you go and meet now the whole team, you don't mix up and start pulling at different ends, yet you want to achieve one goal. My thinking. I think
one of the issues there that's in the NADCO report, and you just talked about the issues, is the devolution. And
Yes,
we've
yes.
seen the governors now, they are really frustrated by the fact that, cash has not been remitted by Treasury,
Yeah.
which will be happening by 15th of every month. For 2 months, they say they've not received this fund, and now they're getting, overdrafts from banks to fund their fares, pay their salaries at the end of the day. So I'm wondering, even if we have this implementation, and we've had this problem perennially since we had the installation of a devolution until now, what discernible difference will there be if we have the NADCO report? What sort of a difference will it bring?
I think it will make a big difference if we can be men and women enough and propose to amend the Constitution to remove the minimum shareable revenue from 15 and push it up to 45. It seems Honorable Elachi is a good friend of Devolution because she's already pitching for increase from 415 to 450 billion. So if we stop playing, cat and mouse game with Kenyans and say we truly want to support the devolution, we can amend the Constitution and remove the minimum percentage of 15 and push it to 45. But I can tell you, without fear of contradiction, that's where we become different ideologically between ODM and UDA. ODM, under the guidance of BAMBA, was pro-devolution. The ODM, manifesto heavily leans towards strengthening devolution. That's our ideology. The ideology of UDA, led by President Ruto, is to have a strong central government where the head of state is Baba and Mama, where everybody goes to beg for development from that center of power of the presidency. And I can tell you, even if we bring this debate to the table, that ideological difference will still create friction. And to be fair to President Ruto, he was never a believer of this constitution. When we were pushing in 2010 to have this approved in a referendum, he opposed it. So I imagine he's always very reluctant to push for the implementation of this constitution. And Debal, if we don't manage or midwife this process in a way that it brings all Kenyans together, it's going to leave this country very divisive. We'll go to 2027, a very divisive country. I agree with what Mheshimiwa Nyutu is saying, that even if NADCO has made this proposal, there is need for a wider public participation from Kenyans, because this was a process that was led by Parliament. It was a parliamentary-led process. And then, since then, a lot of water has passed under the bridge. If you saw the newspaper today, the Senate has also made a proposal to amend the Constitution to strengthen devolution. Public engagements are going to take place in the month of April, and part of it is the problem you have just drawn to our attention, the way we disburse money to counties. We pass the cash disbursement schedule, which becomes an act of Parliament, and that act obligates the government to disburse money to counties on the 15th of every month. But the government never does it, for reasons that I've never understood. Because on the other hand, the government departments, ministries get their money on time, but counties don't get their money on time, including payroll. Mheshimiwa Elachi will tell you there is no single month when you will hear that national government staff, employees, have had a delay in payment of their salary. But there are cases like now, in some counties where staff were not paid salaries in December. So they went for Christmas without a salary. They went to New Year without a salary. They have sent their children to school without being paid their salaries, simply because the government has delayed in disbursing money to counties. Honestly, Debal, don't you think the time is ripe for us to revisit the way we release money to counties? And that's why the Senate is proposing that we address Article 221 and 218 and make this process a joint effort between the National Assembly and the Senate. And many countries that have devolved system of government, whether you go to the US, you go to Australia, Senate participates in budget making process because our main objective, we exist to ensure that we protect the interests of all the 47 counties.
Thank you.
Yeah, finally, the implementation of NADCO is not an easy thing. If you followed the laws that were proposed, the only one that sailed through seamlessly was the amendment to the IBC selection panel.
Yes.
We made a proposal to amend the Ethics and Corruption Commission Act to create new qualifications for the office of the chair of EACC. And we said, because of the nature of the work, and having had presentation from many stakeholders that came to NADCO, we propose that that position should be held by somebody who is qualified to be appointed a judge of the High Court of Kenya. That proposal went to the Joint Committee of JLAC, Senate, National Assembly. That proposal was rejected. So even before you reach at the stage of proposing amendments to the Constitution, even on statutes, differences are already emerging on the floor of the House. So that proposal has never seen a light of the day. So if you are ticking the boxes, you can start by saying that the proposal on amendments to strengthen corruption are already on headwinds.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. On that particular note, I think we take a short break. We've covered enough of the NADCO report and, of course, a bit of devolution. So we take a station break. When we come back, we delve deeper into the party politics as well, looking at the affairs of ODM right now, the proposed DCP and the Jubilee Party coalition, the proposal from the party leader of DCP. And of course, we shall give you also a mix of sports as well. Don't go away.